Okay, so we're going to start special senses with gustatory pathways. This is pathways for taste. All right, so again, you have your tongue. You have some different cranial nerves that are involved in getting information to your brain. You have your vagus nerve, which is cranial nerve 10. Glossopharyngeal nerve, which is cranial nerve 9. Facial nerve, which is cranial nerve 7. Information from those nerves goes to the nucleus solitarius in the brainstem and goes on to your thalamic nucleus, so it's in your thalamus. Okay, information goes to the portion of the cerebral cortex associated with gustation for taste. It's gustatory cortex. Okay. All right. So with olfaction, let's see. Actually, we've got some more gustation here. So with gustation, different receptors and papilla we want you to know about. So these are the filiform papillae. They look like flames. You have the fungiform papillae. It's kind of a big button. And then the circumvallate papillae. You have the rings around the central area. And down kind of in the deeper areas of the taste buds or deeper areas of the papillae are where the taste buds are. Okay. All right, so you've got water receptors in your pharynx and toward the back of your tongue. Right here, you've got umami receptors, okay? Because we talked about sweet, salty, and bitter. All right, and so you also have umami. All right. Now, in those taste buds, okay, here's some taste buds here. If you look at them under the microscope, looks like this. You get kind of this alternating pattern of light and dark. The dark cells are the gustatory cells. They're connected to these taste hairs. Okay, and these taste pores where the hairs are. So they can essentially, you've got receptors on those hairs that send a signal to the gustatory cell, which generates an action potential and goes through these nerves. Okay. You also have in yellow supporting cells, and you've got some stem cells or basal cells here to keep generating new gustatory cells. Okay. All right. So, okay. Now we'll get to olfaction. So with olfaction, the pathway to get to your cerebrum in your brain, you've got something you're smelling and odorants getting into your nasal cavity. This is your conchae, superior nasal conchae. Here, near that, you've got the olfactory epithelium, where your olfactory receptors are. And so if those receptors have an odorant that binds to them, they're going to send a signal through these olfactory nerve fibers to the olfactory bulb. They're crossing through the cribriform plate of your ethmoid bone. And from the olfactory bulb, it goes to the olfactory tract and then onto your cerebrum. Okay. So you'll get a chance to see some models like this on Tuesday, but just wanted to show this information to you so you would know. All right. So just to remind you, here's your ethmoid bone, cribriform plates, right, with all the little holes in it, olfactory foramina. So those olfactory foramina allow those olfactory nerve cells to go through, okay, to get to your olfactory bulb. All right, so higher magnification view, here are your olfactory cilia, where the odorants are binding to them, generating action potentials which go through these olfactory receptor cells. Okay, send the signal up to the olfactory nerve fibers and onto the olfactory bulb. Okay, so the cells next to them in pink, these are supporting cells. Okay, this little area right here to trap those odorants. That's mucus, right? That's why you have mucus in your nose. Okay, this whole layer is olfactory epithelium. Layer between the olfactory epithelium, connecting it to the cribriform plate is your lamina propria. Okay, and then this gland here is an olfactory gland, Bowman's gland. Okay, all right. So let's take 1 minute, talk to your partner at your table about what you have learned about gustation and olfaction. Okay, even if you didn't remember everything I just covered, you should be able to talk about something that you learned, at least 2 or 3 things you learned about gustation and olfaction. You can do this at home as well. So let's move on to the eye. And this again will help us next week when we look at the eye. So again, as we mentioned in class, here's your lateral canthus and your medial canthus. So your eyelids are your palpebrae. All right, each one is a palpebra. Obviously, these are your eyelashes. There's your pupil. Okay, we call this area kind of the circle around the iris, the corneal limbus. Okay, space between the eyelids, we call it the palpebral fissure. And this space here by the medial, right here by the medial canthus, is our lacrimal caruncle. Okay. All right. Another view. Okay, you've got, again, the eyelashes, your eyebrows. Okay, this one shows you some muscles related to your eye. Okay, so you've got, the orbicularis oculi, it's going to go around the eye. Some of these muscles, you have some extrinsic muscles that help your eyes move. We'll get into those in just a minute. Okay. All right. There you can see the inferior palpebra, superior palpebra. There's your conjunctiva. All right, palpebral conjunctiva. And then up here, connects to the eye, actually eye itself, you have your bulbar or ocular conjunctiva. Okay, so palpebral conjunctiva, bulbar or ocular conjunctiva. Okay. All right. So again, lateral canthus, medial canthus. Okay. Okay, you can see a bit of the ocular conjunctiva here. Here's the lacrimal gland. Okay, secretes the tears, go through the lacrimal gland ducts, and then it kind of goes around the eye to the lacrimal caruncle area to the lacrimal canaliculi. These little small canals that go to the lacrimal sac. Tears actually exit the area through the nasal lacrimal duct. Okay. This picture also shows you orbital fat kind of insulating the eye. Okay. Okay, muscles, extrinsic eye muscles, so you'll need to know. And we'll get to look at these on the models as well. But you've got, essentially, most of these muscles are named rectus, okay? And with the exception of this one, superior or inferior oblique and superior oblique. Okay, and oblique tends to move at an angle, right? So superior rectus pulls your eye up. Inferior rectus pulls the eye down. Lateral rectus moves the eye laterally. Okay, medial rectus moves the eye medially. Okay, that should make sense, right? So you have the inferior oblique, helps the eye roll, look up and laterally. And then you've got the superior oblique, which is kind of goes around this trochlea. And it also helps the eye roll and helps the eye look down and laterally. And so if you're not sure, I mean, obviously you can tell the superior rectus, inferior rectus, but knowing whether it's lateral or medial, often it's helpful to look for the superior oblique and the inferior oblique to kind of help orient you, okay? Because the lateral rectus, or the inferior rectus, is kind of between the lateral rectus and the inferior rectus. Okay. Yes?
Are those skeletal or smooth muscles? Those ones up there?
So these are, I would say these are actually considered skeletal. Okay, you do have some voluntary control of moving your eyes.
They did look strange.
Mm-hmm. They do. All right, another view. Again, lateral rectus. Okay, medial rectus is kind of hidden here. Okay, superior rectus, inferior rectus. You can see the inferior oblique and that superior oblique. Okay, and you can see the optic nerve back here. The trochlea here forms what we call ligamentous sling for that superior oblique. Okay. All right, so the fibrous layer of the eye is part of the anterior cavity, okay, because you have an anterior cavity and a posterior cavity. In the anterior cavity, you have a fibrous layer and a vascular layer. The fibrous layer contains the cornea, the anterior surface of the eye, and the sclera, okay, which is the whites of the eye. Vascular layer, or uvea, includes the iris, gives the eye its color, the ciliary body, and the choroid, okay. Choroid kind of goes around the posterior surface of the eye. Okay, ciliary body is connected to the lens via these suspensory ligaments. Anterior cavity has the aqueous humor. Posterior cavity has vitreous humor. Neural layer is where your retina is. Okay, and you have a neural part and a pigmented part. Okay. Neural part's deeper than the pigmented part. All right. So again, you can see this palpebral conjunctiva well here, and then the ocular conjunctiva. This little fanny area looks kind of a lot of lines. It's serrated, like a serrated blade. It's the ora serrata. Here's your lens, your pupil, cornea, again the iris. Okay, this little corner there is the limbus. Okay. Now in the back of the eye, posterior cavity, you've got the sclera, again the whites of the eyes. The next deeper layer is the choroid. The next deeper layer is the retina. Okay. All right. All right. So here's your fovea. Okay. Lights focusing generally at the fovea. And then you have your optic disc back here and your optic nerve. Like I said, light, visual axis goes through the lens, hits the fovea. Okay, there's your optic disc where you have no photoreceptors. It's a blind spot. All right, but all your information feeds into there to go into the optic disc that you see from other parts of your retina. Again, layers, sclera, choroid, which is vascular, and your retina. Okay, a lot of orbital fat there. Okay, again, your cornea, lens, suspensory ligaments there, ciliary body. Okay. Blood vessels here, we call them the central retinal artery and vein, because it's in the center and it goes to the retina. Okay, just another view, same thing we've been seeing. Anterior cavity, break that up in the anterior chamber and the posterior chamber. Anterior chamber is basically from the cornea to the iris. Okay. And you've got your posterior chamber, essentially from the oris aorta up to the iris. Okay, and there's your ciliary body and your ciliary processes. Okay, like they're finger-like projections that connect to the suspensory ligaments. Okay, and when they contract, it changes the width of the lens, right? Okay, so the retina. All right, so you've got your rods, help you see in dim light, your cones, which lets you see color. And those communicate with bipolar cells. You can tell that because they have potentially two poles on either side, projections on either side. Those connect with ganglion cells down here. Okay. And that information, again, goes to your optic nerve, okay, about what you see. Again, up here, you've got choroid. You've got your layer of your rods and your cones, your bipolar cells, and your ganglion cells. And you see the central retinal artery and vein, optic nerve, sclera, choroid, and then your retina. Okay. Here's a good view of the macula. Center of that's your fovea. Okay, that's where light focuses. Here's your optic disc. That's your blind spot. Okay. And you can see the central artery and vein emerging from the center of the optic disc. Okay. All right. So really, all I really want you to know from this is information from your eyes crosses over. Okay, so information from your left eye, some of that information goes to the right side of your brain. Information from the right eye, some of that information goes to the left side of your brain. Okay, so both sides of your brain are processing the information you see. Okay, so, and also you have a combined visual field. If you lose one eye, you don't have a full field of view. Okay, but it gives you kind of three-dimensional binocular vision. Okay. All right, so let's pause, talk about what you've learned so far about the eye, structures of the eye. Okay. So while you all do that, I'm going to grab a few eyes for you to look at. Okay. And you can talk about this at home as well. All right, so the ear's got three regions. You've got the external ear, the auricle here. We have the middle ear with the tympanic membrane or eardrum, and the internal ear, okay, with your cochlea. So external auditory meatus, and it's in your external ear, your auditory ossicles in the middle ear. Okay, again, you got other structures, semicircular canals. Okay, all right. And then you've got some nerves here. We'll get into those in just a minute. All right. So let's talk about the nerves in the internal ear. Here's your facial nerves. This is nerve number 7. And vestibulocochlear nerve. Okay, number 8. It's the cochlear branch. This is the vestibular branch. Okay, because this is the cochlea, it's the vestibule. Okay, external anatomy. This looks like a triangle here. It's a triangular fossa. You can kind of see the triangle there. This curve is the helix. This inner curve is the antihelix. The bump here is your antitragus. This bump there is your tragus. Okay, this kind of hole here, curve is the concha or concha. Again, hole, big hole is the external acoustic meatus. And some of us have bigger flaps than others, but this is the lobule. Okay. All right. In the middle ear, got your incus here, so the malleus, incus, and stapes, MIS, malleus. It looks kind of like a mallet, incus and stapes. All right. Again, tympanic membrane, external acoustic meatus. Okay. Here's what we call the round window. Here's the oval window. Looks more oval shaped by the stapes. Okay, this is the auditory tube. Okay, that's what's in the middle here. Okay, semicircular ducts in the internal ear. We have anterior going up. Okay, posterior going toward the back of the body, lateral, kind of sideways. All right. So structures inside. Concept, we have the bony lymph, or bony labyrinth and the membranous labyrinth. So if it's kind of beige, it's considered bony labyrinth. Right? It's on the outside, it's bony. Inside, it's membranous, is softer, membranous labyrinth. And that's that circle right there. And then inside the membranous labyrinth is endolymph. Okay, inside the bony labyrinth is perilymph. All right, so other structures here kind of in the vestibule area, you've got the, or close to the vestibule, you have the utricle, these two bumps, and the saccule. These. Okay, and this whole spiral is your cochlea. Okay, inside the utricle and the saccule, you have structures that help you with balance and equilibrium. Okay, so this structure here, we call these statoconia. Okay, and collectively, they sit on a layer called the otolith. Okay, under deep to the statoconia, you have gelatinous materials, gel, and you got hair cells, and when those hair cells move, it affects your balance. Okay, because they're perceiving that information. Those hair cells are connected to nerve cells, which send a signal to your brain. Okay. Okay, semicircular ducts. Okay, you have the cup or the ampulla, or sorry, cup or the cupula. Area around the cupula is ampulla and is filled with endolymph. Okay, so here are more hair cells. Okay, this layer, we call this the crista. Okay, and those hair cells are connected to a nerve. Okay, send information. So again, when there's movement, vibration, and this is what's going on inside those semicircular ducts. Helps you to figure out, you know, keep whether you're off balance or not. Okay, when you turn your head. Okay, inside the cochlea, all those spirals. Okay, the big spaces, we call those scala tympani or tympanic ducts. Okay, kind of in between those, we've got spiral organs. Okay, and we've also got membrane structures. Okay, this larger one we call it tectorial membrane. It folds into the spiral organ. A little circle there, it's a basilar membrane. And the membrane going around the tympanic ducts is vestibular membrane. Okay, and these are all information from here is feeding into this nerve. Okay, now also, again, this cochlea is embedded essentially inside your temporal bone. Okay, because it's by your ear, right? So, all right, spiral organ. So you've got, again, part of your cochlea, another view. Again, vestibular membrane going around those tympanic ducts. Okay, this is cochlear duct. Okay, where that spiral organ is. All right. This pink structure is your tectorial membrane. Okay, it's baseline structure, basilar. Okay. All right, so if you look at this under higher magnification, again, the big slab is the tectorial membrane. If you think about it, you can think about like tectonic plates and sliding and all that, back from geography class. All right, there are your hair cells. So when that tectorial membrane slides along the hair cells, again, your brain interprets that information to give you balance. Okay. All right, so there's the vestibular membrane. This big fold into the tectorial membrane. Down here's your base, or your basilar membrane. These are hair cells. Okay. All right, so I'm going to give you a couple minutes to look over and put some ears by your table so you can look at some of those different structures. Okay. And then we're going to start our brain dissection.